they called me a right winger because I didn't look at the MAGA supporters as my enemy. I looked at my enemy as the establishment, and that they want us to be divided, just like Cenk Uygur did and Ana Kasparian at the Young Turks. And when I brought on a Boogaloo boy, who, by the way, we agreed with on at least 6 out of his 10 top issues.
Wow, listen to that. Jimmy Dore is going off on Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian of the Young Turks. And of course, he's got some beef with them because Jimmy Dore used to be on the Young Turks and then famously was kicked off them, I think, as was Dave Rubin. And lately, a couple of the other people have left. And one guy just left. He announced that he was leaving just in the middle of somebody else's podcast. So, and apparently a lot of the Young Turks paid members have also been leaving them because they see Cenk and Ana as complete grifters, sellouts to the right wing. But of course, as Jimmy Dore just said, the Young Turks have spent the last 2 decades more or less demonizing right wingers as evil, which is absolutely true. So let's get into it and listen to Jimmy Dore's rant, because I think he's going to take advantage of this opportunity.
To get into this here, because we want to talk about this a bit today. So this was the tweet that started it all. On the 29th, Cenk Uygur was overwhelmed with optimism. I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election, even though I was so against the guy who won. I know now. MAGA is not my mortal enemy, and neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. It's not just...
Is it the same establishment you took $20 million from? You mean that establishment? One of the top donors in the Democrat Party? You mean one of the most rich, most powerful owners of establishment corporate media, Jeffrey Katzenberg? You mean that's your enemy? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, maybe he's out of money. Maybe he's his enemy now. Maybe they ran
that's
it out. Yeah, that's it. No more use to him. It's not just that the establishment candidate lost. It's that their media is mortally wounded. The source of their strength was not insipid politicians like Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden. The source of their strength was their propaganda machine, the mainstream media. Now, online media is strong enough that their oppressive monopoly on the American mind has been broken. Now we're in the jungle. They hate that. I love it.
This is hilarious.
Oh, you haven't read this thread yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was the thing that kicked it all off. This uncontrolled marketplace of ideas is where I'm home. I'd rather be in the populist woods than an establishment prison. So Megan Murphy, I don't know who this is, says, I've never seen anyone jump ship faster. Shortly after Kamala lost. Gunther Eagleman, this is a MAGA account here. They haven't been defeated, and for you to assume that shows your naive nature. They still have a stronghold in the Senate, which you still ignore. You have trashed Trump and MAGA for years. Stay in your lane and accept that you and yours suffered an embarrassing defeat, Cenk. So, yeah, that's the MAGA crowd that's not buying it. And then this is one of the big lib accounts, Joe. Obeying in advance. People warned me you'd do this, and here you are. So, really getting it from all sides.
Jimmy Dore and Russell there. I don't know who this Keaton Weiss is, but the other guy, Russell, who's currently on Jimmy Dore's show on YouTube, or at least a guest host from time to time. They're going to be reveling in Cenk's obvious and immediate turnaround since the election. It is hilarious. He's repositioning himself as an anti-establishment. Well, I guess he's always been anti-establishment. I did notice he's been calling himself a populist. I'm sure they used to call themselves progressives at the Young Turks. Now he's calling himself populist, because I think that's kind of clever, because not left-wingers can be populists, can have populists, and right-wingers can be populists too. So it's a clever bit of rebranding.
As you could have predicted, Mike Benz was ambivalent. Based? Question mark. I like that. I like that, but maybe. Well, let's see. What do you think, Jimmy? Based or not based? Because this was the tweet that you put out. You quote.
Oh, let's look at that tweet. Let's see if he's going to read
a later tweet here, because obviously Cenk got a lot of pushback to this, and or not based, because this was the.
Cenk is the ultimate media slime ball. For years, he's been calling conservatives racists and sexists and Russian Putin puppets. He called me a fake lefty right-winger for advocating the exact same thing he's advocating here. Now his show is tanking, and so, without an apology, he's doing his best Jimmy Dore impression, thinking it will save him from failure. What a transparent POS. Almost unbelievable. Almost. Ooh, slamming, banging tweet from Jimmy Dore aimed at Cenk Uygur. Very good. I agree 100%. Yeah, you got to call these guys out when you see it. You know, they grifting hard, and he didn't have a, Cenk, of course, has never said, well, okay, I was wrong in the past. Even Ana Kasparian has done that. She has literally said, I had some wrong views. I went over the top. She talked about her meltdown in the wake of the 2016 election, which was incredible, where she slammed women for voting for Trump, saying she was better than them, calling them all sorts of names. She apologized for that. As far as I know, Cenk hasn't done anything like that.
Tweet that you put out, you quote tweeted a later tweet here, because obviously Cenk got a lot of pushback to this, and a couple weeks later he says, some folks on the left seem to genuinely think that just talking to the MAGA right wing is evil.
Yeah,
or
like you.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah. You're the guy who did that. You pushed that for years and years, since 2016. They called me a right winger because I didn't look at the MAGA supporters as my enemy. I looked at my enemy as the establishment, and that they want us to be divided, just like Cenk Uygur did and Ana Kasparian at the Young Turks. And when I brought on a Boogaloo boy, who, by the way, we agreed with on at least 6 out of his 10 top issues. And my whole thing was, I sell a T-shirt. Frederick Douglass said, I'll join with anyone to do good and no one to do bad. And that's been my message since at least 2016. They're not your enemy. They're your neighbor. And and that's exactly divide and conquer. And they've been pushing that. They slandered me and smeared me for years because I wouldn't because I wouldn't hate my neighbor, and I wouldn't pretend that my mother-in-law, who's a wonderful person, was a teacher her whole life. Her students loved her. She's 100% Mexican, and she supported Donald Trump. And I'm like, well, that's when I knew. I'm like, well, what does it do? Hate my mother-in-law? I love my mother-in-law. She's a great woman. She loves me. She's a good Christian. And that's why she voted for Trump, because of abortion. That doesn't make her a bad person. And she hated the Clintons, which is what we bonded over, actually. So
good point. You should hate the Clintons. Everybody should.
I was, again, 8 years ago, I was saying exactly what Cenk is saying, and it would be okay if Cenk came out. What you have to do is make a serious act of contrition. You have to come out and say, hey, you know what? I was the worst person. I did that. I demonized the right wing. I called them white supremacists. I called them all racist. I called them all sexist. There's a video where he even called them all pedophiles. He said that's why they're always talking about pedophilia, because they're all pedophiles. He said that.
Right.
He said he smeared anti-war journalists like Aaron Mate. Said they're being paid by Russia. Everybody was a Russian. Everybody was a traitor to our country. Jimmy Dore was a right winger and a grifter because I interviewed a Boogaloo boy. Meanwhile, he interviewed David Duke. I guess he still got to be a lefty, but he's not a lefty. He's a union buster, and he's pro-war, and he's pro-censorship. And he's pro-big pharma. Right? He didn't have one critique of the COVID narrative. So that's the opposite of a lefty. Cenk Uygur is an authoritarian, and he's illiberal. He's not part of the liberal class. People who call themselves liberal today are not liberal. They're illiberal. You can't be pro-war and you can't be pro-censorship, the hallmark of a dictator and authoritarianism, and you can't be for mandating medical treatments. So they're the opposite of liberals. They're not liberals. They're illiberals. And so if he was genuine about this, he would start off with an admission that he was the worst purveyor of the thing he now claims to be against, demonizing Trump voters as their enemy. He was the worst who did that, constantly calling them fat. Up until 5 minutes before the election, he was calling them all fascists, including Trump. And then, so it's amazing how he's Trump's a fascist. We got to defeat MAGA. Those guys are. And then all of a sudden, Trump wins. He's like, we win. How does that? It'd be like if I was like, I
was with you guys the whole time.
Yeah, but with you there the whole time. Oh, these assholes on the far left. Oh boy. They used to call him far left when he kind of tepidly supported Bernie Sanders until he couldn't wait to get rid of him and support Hillary Clinton. I was the last holdout for Bernie Sanders in 2016 at the Young Turks. But anyway, and now he just apes so he's just aping establishment talking points, calling people far left, calling people far right, and the right wing. A lot of them are sniffing him out. Matt Walsh didn't go along with it. He said Cenk Uygur's been calling us fascist for 53 years. He's now 54, and now I'm supposed to think that his opinion is worth anything? He's been wrong his whole life. And so I'm with him on that. And there isn't a war that Cenk Uygur didn't like. Cenk Uygur was for the Iraq war before he was against it. He was for the Afghanistan war. He was for the expansion of the Afghanistan war. He was for the Libyan war. He was for the Syrian war. And he lied. He lied on television. He lied on the Hill, saying that he never was for bombing Syria. And there's a 10-minute video of me debating him about that, and he was for it. So he is one of the sleaziest media figures going.
Excellent takedown by Jimmy Dore of Cenk Uygur in particular. The Young Turks, but he's really focusing on Cenk Uygur because I think Jimmy Dore knows quite well that Ana Kasparian has been changing her positions for well over a year now. So yeah, excellent takedown. I think perhaps the Young Turks fans who are outraged by the turn Cenk Uygur has taken, by the 180 turnaround he's taken since Trump's election, perhaps they're right to be outraged. Jimmy Dore seems to think that they're completely right, that Cenk is just an unprincipled, money-grubbing, big brown buffalo, as somebody called him once. And yeah, there might be something to it. I have no idea what's in his heart, personally, obviously. But Jimmy Dore is not he obviously he smells a phony. And he's not hesitating to call it as he sees it. You know, call a spade, just calls him as he sees them. And I think he's probably having a good time right now, watching the Young Turks implode and watching the Democratic Party. I mean, he's certainly anti-establishment, like Cenk now claims he is. So he's probably happy to see the establishment Democrats also implode, just as I am. So let me know what you think about Jimmy Dore's rant here. And, please leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm. Also, I've been reading all the comments recently, and I've been replying to quite a few. Really appreciate it. And, of course, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. It helps me grow the channel and continue making content for you.